Hey you guys, my name is Diane Parham, and I help women figure out food, fitness, and help them create a lifestyle that helps them balance the way they want to look and feel to reach their optimum best. So today I am going to talk to you guys about classifying food as bad food versus good food. And this is a subject that I feel very passionate about, especially as a mother to a young daughter. And what we really try to do in our house is make sure that we do not create any kind of, food aversions or food issues with our kids. And so we really try to make sure we stay away from that dialogue of bad food versus good food and categorize food in those ways. So I'm going to give you 3 tips today that will kind of help you figure out and help you determine for yourself maybe some better options for food, but not necessarily eliminate foods from your life entirely or put them in classifications of bad versus good. So the one thing that I really like to coach women on is helping them determine how a food makes them feel versus what a food is, or how maybe even our society has classified that food. So if I eat a food and it makes me feel bad, then that's a food that I just kind of put into a category that I don't necessarily incorporate into my lifestyle very often, and sometimes not at all. So I try to go off a feeling of a food as opposed to how it's classified by our society. I can tell you that there's a lot of foods that we have in our household today, in our refrigerator or our pantry, that are perfectly fine for my husband or my son or my daughter, but they're foods that for me just don't make me feel good. So it would be really easy for me to say that that's a bad food, but that would put it in that classification or make it a negative for the other people in my house that have no problem with that food. So the number one thing you want to do to kind of make sure you're not classifying food as good or bad is just determine how it makes you feel. And so go off a feeling of a food as opposed to what it's classified by in our society. Number 2 is when you are experimenting with food and trying to figure out if it's something that you want to incorporate in your life or try to eliminate or maybe even just minimize a little bit, is you want to make sure that you're really good with the ingredients that are in that food. So if it's not a 1 calorie or a 1 ingredient food like an apple or a carrot or a piece of chicken, you want to make sure that you're very familiar with the ingredients label. Oftentimes, very good food is sort of tampered with or can become something that's not going to make you feel your best just because of some ingredients that have been added to that food. So I know in our house, we really don't put any kind of food into our pantry or refrigerator until we've read the ingredients label and made sure that all the ingredients that are in that item are what we want to have as our goal for our nutrition. So number 1 is you want to make sure that the food that you're eating is actually making you feel good and you're not classifying it as a good or a bad food. The second thing is you want to make sure that you're very clear about what the ingredients list is including as far as, the food that you're bringing in your house. And a really good example of that is we love turkey bacon, and turkey bacon is that thing that's considered, a quote unquote healthier option than pork bacon. But there was an ingredient in the turkey bacon that we were purchasing, and that ingredient was soy lecithin. And soy lecithin was one of those things that was making me feel really bad. And so instead of putting turkey bacon in that big category of it's a bad food because it made me feel bad, we did a little bit of research and actually found a substitution for turkey bacon that did not include soy lecithin in it. I cooked the turkey bacon, I ate it, and I felt great. So make sure you're really clear about what ingredients are put in your everyday food so that you're making sure that you're getting the best possible nutrition that you can, and that you don't have to put some of those really good foods that you really like into that category of you're not going to eat them anymore, or what we tend to do as a society, and that's label them as bad food. And then you want to try to eat foods in their most natural state. And that goes back to the number 2 thing of, being really clear about what is in the ingredients list. So we try to eat food in its most natural state so that it's not tampered with and there isn't all those ingredients that are added into it. And most of them are just preservatives, so they're making food last longer than it's intended to last. And so that tends to make food not as clean or as real as it should be. And oftentimes those are preservatives that aren't making us feel our best. So the 3 tips that I have for you today to kind of keep you out of the mindset of categorizing food as bad food versus good food is 1, you want to make sure that the food that you're eating is making you feel good regardless of any other categories that have been placed on that food. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to the ingredients list on the food, and I gave the example of turkey bacon, which is deemed as a very healthy food alternative to pork bacon, but the bacon that we were eating had an ingredient in it that was making me feel bad, so I just found an alternative. And then the third thing is you want to make sure that you're eating food in its most natural state. So a potato is a potato, and I know oftentimes the potato has gotten like bad rap for being one of those carbs that we should stay away from. But a potato is a really nutrient-dense food item. It's full of potassium and a bunch of minerals. And so if you eat a potato as a potato, it's a great addition to your nutritional plan. But if you're going to put some sour cream on it and some bacon bits or load it up with some cheddar cheese, then you're not eating that potato in its most natural state. And then it's considered one of those foods that is not the most optimum for a nutrition plan. So those are my tips for helping you kind of stay out of that categorizing of food as bad food versus good food, and will keep you on the track to feeling your best with the food that you have available for you. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below, or you can always reach out to me via private message. Thanks so much for joining me today, you guys.